Welcome back, friends. Hope you completed the chapter of basic accounting terms. So, journal entries is your first practical chapter of your journey in accountancy. So, before we start, I would like to give you an introduction of this chapter. Accountancy is the language of business. So, in order to master this language, journal entry is its ABCD. This is what will differentiate you from others. A good, thorough understanding of this chapter of journal entries will not only help you in the next chapter of ledger or till the final accounts of sole proprietorship, it comes till your professional courses of CA, CMA, and CS or any other course you want to do. So pay close attention. This is what will differentiate you from other students. So usually this will come for another 5 lectures. So the way we are going to read this chapter is I've devised a systematic PDF which will be posted under each and every lecture. So you just have to go through that PDF and listen to the lectures. That PDF contains revision test papers, mock test papers, previous year question papers, each and every question, any other reference material, and anything that the invigilator can think of or the examiner has already thought of is there. You don't need to refer to any other material. One thing I can assure you is by the time you complete these 6 lectures or journal entries, you after completing it, you look at any question from any book, irrespective of the level, you will be able to solve any journal entry question. However, there's only one rule. Till these 6 lectures are over, don't touch any other material. So let's start. And there's another thing I would like to tell you before we start. Usually in school, they teach journal entries in one of two ways. Either it'll be traditional approach or modern approach. So traditional approach is like a list of rules like debit what comes in, credit what goes out, and other rules. But the problem with traditional approach is it's not a very useful approach because once you come to any professional course and a tough concept comes in, all these rules go out of the window. You won't remember anything. So I'm going to teach this entire chapter in the modern approach, and that too in a separate specific sequence that I've devised for perfect understanding. So this will not only come with you throughout your life, this will be etched in your memory. You'll remember it permanently, and once these lectures are over, it'll be a cakewalk for you, any chapter. So pay close attention. Let's start. Now, before I start, I have to tell you about few important terms. These terms are not only the foundation of journal entry, but anything in the whole of accountancy can be classified under these 5 heads. So, in order to understand journal entries thoroughly, you need to understand these terms that I'm going to write very, very clearly. So, let's write it down. First term, assets. Please don't mind me. I'm getting used to this new stylus. Then expenses and capital and liabilities. And fifth, revenue. So, when I told you about the necessity of thorough understanding, I don't mean definitions that you already read in the first chapter of basic accounting terms, which will be helpful, but I'm starting the scratch here. So these today's lecture will focus on assets and expenses fully. So write this down. I'm going to give you a definition for each of these 5 words. Right now, we'll only cover assets and expenses. So this definition is the most simple definition devised, but this will help solve even the hardest journal entry topics to ever exist. I'll tell you why I'm giving this definitions once I write this. So write it down first. Assets, value, the benefit of which will be taken in future. Now expenses, value, the benefit of which is already taken. Okay. So another question I get at this time is that I promise that I'll give you reasons for each and everything I write and make it conceptually thorough. Why am I writing definitions when this is a practical chapter? See, what I'm doing is we are solving a puzzle. So I just put the first two pieces in the puzzle in different places. Now it doesn't look like much. But after the 6 lectures, when the puzzle is completely over, then only you'll be able to see the true picture. Now, when I wrote these two definitions, I want you to make sure that no matter who and when someone asks you to define assets or expenses, you give them this definition. This is not the book definition, but this definition will help you become a master of journal entries. So when I say assets, the value, the benefit of which will be taken in the future should come to your mind. And whenever I say expenses, nothing else, no other book definition. The value, the benefit of which is already taken. These two definitions should come to your mind whenever you hear the word assets and expenses, not only in this chapter, in the whole of accountancy. Now, in order to understand this definition more clearly, I'm going to give you certain examples. See, the journal entry chapter has not yet started. I'm giving you the logic, the framework. Once you're clear with this logic, journal entry, any journal entry, you'll be able to solve easily. That's the reason I'm giving you this. Let's start. So let's start with examples first. Now write this down. Write this down. If you have not written it down, pause it and copy it down. So I'm going to give you 3 cases. So by the end of these 3 cases, the two definitions that I explained will be permanently etched in your brain. But pay close attention. So first case. Let's start with an example. Say, for example, there's a firm called ABC Limited. And this is you. And you're the accountant of this firm. Now, please don't mind my handwriting and my drawing skills. One thing I can assure you is my concept is really clear. And my goal is to make you get at least 95 plus in your accounts paper. The goal is 100, but 95 plus is the minimum. Don't worry, no pressure. By the end of the lecture, you'll automatically, your aim itself will shift to 100%. So let's start. So you're the accountant of ABC Limited. So during the month of May, an employee of the firm of the company ABC Limited. So his name is Ram. So Ram worked for the entire month of May. So at the end of the month of May, Ram comes to you as you're the accountant, and he says that, sir, I work for the entire month. I would require some salary now. So his salary is 20,000 rupees per month. So since Ram worked really well, now you're inclined to give him salary. So while giving him salary, at the end of the month of May, what do you actually pay him? Listen to the question properly. At the end of the month of May, what do you actually pay him? Don't say salary. See, I'm going to teach you a very, very important concept, so keep this in mind. In the whole of accountancy, whenever they say, what do you actually pay him? You never take any expenses name. Because if you say you're paying him salary, salary is just a name. You've never seen physical form of salary. Actually, you pay him cash. You always keep this name. Whenever I ask, what do you actually pay him? You have to say, I pay him cash. So cash, 20,000 rupees gets reduced from the business at the end of May. So according to the definition mentioned above, what is the definition of an asset? The value, the benefit of which will be taken in the future. So what is cash? So cash. So this value, cash value can be taken, the benefit of cash can be taken in the future. So according to the definition written above, cash is an asset. So for now, in the bracket, you write asset because you can take the benefit of cash in the future. Now, accountancy works in a double entry system. So double entry means you have to tell them the impact on your business and then tell them the reason for the impact. So the impact on the business is cash in your business gets reduced by 20,000 rupees. What is the reason for this impact? Now, when I say reason, that time you have to mention salary. So 20,000 salary. Now, why am I writing salary in this bracket and not here? There's another reason. Again, I tell you, salary is just a name. So, by the definition given above of expenses, value the benefit of which is already taken is the definition I gave you. So, in this month, you took the benefit of RAM services worth rupees 20,000. So, 20,000 is the value, the benefit of which was already taken in the month of May. So, according to the definition mentioned above, it's an expense. Right? So, I'm going to write expense here instead of salary. Now, salary is just the example of the expenses here. See, the expense can be anything. It can be rent, it can be commission, it can be income tax paid, it can be anything. But salary is just the example of expense. So whenever you write reason, it usually you write expenses and in the bracket you write salary for now till your logic is completely clear. So I'll tell you again. So in brief, double entry system is a way by you have to tell them the impact in your business and you have to tell them the reason. Them in the sense, the shareholders. So the first thing is at the end of May, your impact is 20,000 cash gets reduced. So the reason is an expense. Why is it an expense? Because the benefit of 20,000, which is RAM services, has been taken in the month of May. So benefit is already taken. So as per the definition mentioned above, it's an expense. Now, why is cash an asset? Cash is an asset because cash value can always be taken. The benefit of cash value can always be taken in the future. That's why cash is an asset. Now, wait. I have two more cases. Once the two more cases is done, all the doubts will get solved. So please wait. So next, let's go slow. Next case. So Ram worked for me. So after that, he worked for 2 more months in the business. So June and July. So now Ram worked for the entire month of June. And at the end of June, he comes to you, the accountant, and he tells you that she has been a loyal employee of the firm. So there's some family emergency. So could you please give me my July month salary also in advance? So this happens generally. Since the company wants to retain good employees, Ram says that because Ram said like that, you say that, yeah, okay, I've been a good employee, so I'm going to give you the advance salary. So now in this case, what is the net impact of the business? This entry takes place at the end of June because in the end of June, Ram asks for July salary also. So at the end of June, 20,000 for the month of June and 20,000 salary for the month of July. Cash. Keep it in mind, it's cash, like I told you, cash, which is an asset for the month of July, gets reduced from the business. This 20,000 pertains to June salary, this 20,000 pertains to July salary. So now what is the reason? Double entry system. You have to tell them the reason for this impact. First, see, we know the reason for this 20,000. This 20,000 is an expense. What expense? The name of the expense is salary. 20,000. Now the question is this 20,000 also an expense? Now, let's go back to the definition. The definition of an expense is the value, the benefit of which is already taken. So, in this case, RAM services for the month of June only the value of this benefit of Ram has been taken in June. Only 20,000 benefit has been taken in June. This 20,000, the service, this is the value of the service that will be provided by Ram in the month of July. So the benefit of this 20,000 will is not taken in June. It's not already taken. So what is this 20,000? Now, same thing. Let's go to the definition of assets now. Value, the benefit of which will be taken in the future. So this 20,000 is an advance salary paid by the company to Ram. The benefit of this 20,000 will be taken only at the end of July. If Ram works for the entire month of July, then the benefit of this value will be taken. So right now, this is not an expense. So what is it? Yes, it's an asset. Why is it an asset? Because of the definition given above. It is a value, the benefit of which will be taken in the future. In the future means in July. Since this entry is in June, July is the future. Now, in this one, why am I the bracket I wrote asset, but what do you actually write here? The name of this asset. See, the name doesn't matter. You can write anything. Write prepaid salary for now. This concept will be explained fully. This is just for logic building. Prepaid salary. Now, another question I get at the end of this part is that there are only 2 places here, but why there are 3 entries here? I'm going to give you the comprehensive definition of double entry system right now. Double entry system actually says both sides of a transaction should be of equivalent value, and you have to give them the reason for the impact of the business. This is the actual comprehensive definition of double entry system. So here, see if these both cases are done, which I mentioned above. First case, the impact is minus 40,000 from your cash. Now, the reason 20,000 is expense, 20,000 is prepaid salary. So one case is over. Second, this 40,000 is equal to this 40,000. 2 sides are tallying. So why only 1 here and 2 entries in this side? The reason for that will come just after 5 minutes, after this logic is fully over. Right now, keep this in mind. Now, final question that people ask is, what happens at the end of July? What changes? Do you pay Ram salary again? What actually changes at the end of July? So this question is, no, you don't pay Ram salary. Why? Because the salary for July was paid in June. So what actually changes at the end of July? This changes. This asset here changes into an expense. Why does it change into an expense? What is the definition of an expense that I told you? Asset's definition is the value, the benefit of which will be taken in the future. So at the end of June, this 20,000 is an asset because it's prepaid salary. The benefit of this salary was not taken in the month of June. It will be taken in the future in July. So this is an asset here. But at the end of July, you have taken the benefit of this 20,000, no? Because Ram worked for the entire month of July. So the value of Ram services was taken in the month of July. So essentially, this asset now becomes this expense by definition. So keep this in mind. I'm going to explain the detailed concept once this final case is explained. Now, final case. For complete conceptual clarity of those 2 terms. Now, third case. Now, Ram worked for June and July. So, at the end of August, again, Ram worked for the entire month of August. And he comes to you, the accountant of the firm, and he asks you, sir, accountant, sir, give me my salary because I work for August. Unfortunately, the situation of the firm is not good right now. The firm has not been doing well. So you try to convince Ram. So you tell him that the firm is actually in its low. So could you help us by not asking for salary at this difficult time? So Ram says that since the company helped him during his time of trouble, let me help the company during the business's time of trouble. So Ram agrees to not take salary for the month of August. Now, this is my question. At the end of August, is the salary which is not paid to Ram, is it an expense? This is where the concept lies. Is this salary which is not paid to Ram, is it an expense? See, Ram also agreed, but is it an expense? Like I told you, anytime you get confused in journal entries, go back to the definitions. You'll get the solution for every journal entry from that basic definition. So the definition of expense, value, the benefit of which is already taken. So at the month of August, is the benefit of RAM services taken already taken? Yes, it's already taken. Then don't ask anything else. If it's taken, that's it. It's an expense. It doesn't matter if cash is paid or not. So what I want you to do, what I want you to do is, at the end of this, at the end of the definition, you write separately. I'm going to write it together. After each and every definition, like after future year and then after taken year, write a comma and write it doesn't matter if cash is paid or not. Write this down. So as far as the definition, the value, the benefit of which is already taken. It completely doesn't matter if the cash is paid or not. It's a completely separate definition. So here, the benefit of RAM services were taken for the month of July. It's already taken. It doesn't matter if cash is paid or not. It is a services. It is an expense if the benefit is taken. So first one, as per the logic is concerned, expenses increases by 20,000 rupees. This expense's name is salary. It's an expense. Now, double entry system. First case, you have to tell them reason for this. And second, you have to tell the both sides to tally. Here, one side is that. What should you do for the other side to tally? There should be a corresponding 20,000 here. Now, cash is not paid. This brings me to the next concept. Now, cash is not paid, but both sides should tally. So, what should we do? So, okay, let's think like this. At the end of the month of August, the company is not paying Ram a salary, but it has to pay him. So it's an obligation, it's a headache on the head of the company to pay Ram's salary. Correct? So what is headache? In simpler terms, just say obligation. It is an obligation for the firm at the end of August to pay salary to Ram, which it's not paid. So obligation, 20,000 rupees. Now, main topic. Now let's go back to the definition. You write this. This is the definition of liabilities. Any obligation. Now, liability is proper definition I've explained in basic accounting terms. But from now on, for practical purposes, any obligation, it doesn't matter what, you should always consider it a liability. We'll do a lot of cases, but let's understand the logic fully right now. This is the last case. So here, expenses increase because a benefit is taken. Corresponding, there should be another entry. Another entry since cash is not paid. You see what is the problem at the end of August. The problem is there's a headache and obligation on top of the firm's head to pay him salary. So the obligation is for 20,000 rupees. What is the name of the obligation? The name of the obligation means what is the name you'll write in the books of Ram's account. In the books of the company corresponding to Ram's account, what is the name of the liability you'll write? That is the question. Now, when I use the word account, don't get flustered. The concept is explained in basic accounting terms, but still, by the end of this lecture itself, everything will be clear. Don't get tense. I'm not using any new term, and every term's meaning will definitely be explained to you. Don't worry. Now, in the book of ABC Limited, what will you write? You know there's an obligation. What is the name of the obligation? The name of obligation is Ram. So you have to pay Ram 20,000. That is the name of the obligation. Now, the problem with this entry is there may be many employees whom the firm has not paid during this month. Can be Ram, Sham, Mohan, A, B, C, D, E, F. So will in the books of the firm will they write Ram, Sham, Mohan separately? All these obligations, the name separately. Won't it look neat? They say accounting is an art. So instead of Ram, they put together all the names of the employees together and they put salary outstanding as a common name. And in the salary outstanding, for now you imagine it being a registered. So they write salary outstanding here. And inside in the salary outstanding register, they write the name of Ram, 20,000, A, B, C, D, 15,000. So they write it like this. But for neatness purpose, they consolidate all the names and write salary outstanding. So here, let's see if the definition of double entry system is satisfied here. What is the definition? First condition. Tell them the impact and tell them the reason for the impact. What is the impact? You would always read it like this. You get a lot of chances to do it on your own, but right now just listen to me. The impact is at the end of the month of August, 20,000 obligation gets created on top of the firm's head. That is the impact. Now, what is the reason for the impact? The reason is salary benefit is taken. So salary is already expended. But the thing is, you're not paid salary. That's it. Now, what is the second condition of double entry system? Both sides should tally. So 20,000 here, 20,000 here. Both sides are tally. Both conditions are satisfied. Now, another question I get is, why is not expenses taken as impact and this as obligation as the reason? You can take, but for clarity purpose, just follow what I'm telling. After the end of the lecture, you can take anything as the impact. This is a more logical way to solve questions. So these are the three cases that I mentioned. Now, before I continue, I would like to tell you something. Now, the reason I'm going this much in depth and focusing this much on logic for the purpose of journal entry is they easily teach you theory in school. But during any tough question, if some tough question comes in board exam, this theory doesn't work out. You need to be able to understand the concept and write it properly. One thing I can guarantee you is there's no question outside these lectures that can be asked in the board exam. However, in case if something different is asked, still you will be able to solve it because your concept will be clear by the end of this lecture. Just keep this definition in mind. Now, I told you these are the logic behind journal entries. Now, I'm going to give you a weapon here. Now, when I say weapon, it actually is one of the greatest weapons you can take to your exam hall. Just write this down, and the name is Super Secret Technique. This is the name of the weapon. This is the weapon that will help solve you every journal entry question. Not only of 11th and 12th, till CA. Now, super secret technique. Now write this down. Take a new page and write this down because you'll have to refer to this many times during the entire lectures. First one. Assets. Expenses. When they increase, you have to debit. When they decrease, you have to credit. Now wait, take this also. I will finish writing this in a flow. It's going to take 30 more seconds. Liabilities, capital, revenue. When they increase, you should credit it. When they decrease, you have to debit it. Now, yeah, there's another question I was asked when I was teaching this part. Why is capital coming here when capital and liabilities both come under the same head? This is the question they asked. See, we go through my basic accounting terms chapter. I've clearly mentioned the difference, and you're right in a way. But for now, for perfect understanding, I'm dividing it into subparts because my aim is not to explain only what is given in the book or for you to score good marks. My aim is to make you a conceptual champion in the whole of accountancy, so that when you do professional courses, they'll be able to know a difference between you and the other person who is not read conceptually. I'm seriously telling you, it's a very, very competitive environment. The only person who understands it conceptually will be able to create a difference. Now, write this down. This is the key to solving any question that may come out of questions. Sometimes I'm giving you every single weapon that you can take for the exam hall. Now, I already promised you that whatever I write, I'm going to give you a reason for that. Now, why am I now? The question you can ask is why the assets and expenses debited when they increase, credited when they decrease. Why liability capital revenue credited when it increases, debited when it decreases. See, for this question, I have no answer because this is like asking why A comes before B and B comes before C in English language. The whole language of accountancy is based on these fundamental principles. So there's no, you can't question these. These are given. Write this down on a separate sheet of paper. Now, for clarity purposes, I'm going to give you a few questions to understand the rules that I mentioned about the super secret technique. Now, first one. Increase in cash. What do you do? Now, what is cash? Cash is a value whose benefit you can take in the future. So, cash is an asset. So, when asset increases, it will be debited. So, here the answer is it is debit. Now, say decrease in cash. Now, asset is decreased. So, when asset decrease, it will be credited. So, the answer is credit. Now, increase in bank. Now, whenever I say bank, it means the bank balance in your account, in the firm's company's account. We prepare books only for the firm, so the firm's account. Now, what is bank balance? A bank balance in it can be any amount. So any value, the benefit of which you can always take in the future. So bank balance benefit you can always take in the future. So as far the definition given here, value the benefit of which will be taken in the future. It doesn't matter if cash is given or not. It is an asset. So bank balance increase in bank is an increase in asset. An increase in asset will be debited. Now a decrease in asset and decrease in bank. What is the decrease in bank? A decrease in asset will be credited. Now, I'm able to imagine what is your state of mind right now. Little clarity you have, but still there are some gaps. To fill the gaps, there are many sums we'll solve and real world examples I'm going to give you. Now, let's for complete understanding of these rules, super secret technique. Let's start with the explanation of each and every rule. I'm going to give you some real life examples. First example, write this down. Let's change this color. Green is being a little dark. First question, rent paid rupees 20,000. This is the first question. Now, what will be the journal entry for this? Now, I want you to promise me another thing. For the next 3 lectures, including this, whenever I ask you any question, you're going to do this first and then write the journal entries. So, what does this mean? This means the logic. Let's write. Then paid rupees 20,000. Like discussed before. What is the logic? First, 20,000 gets cash, which is an asset, gets reduced from your business. Correct? Like mentioned before. Now, double entry system. What is the reason for this 20,000? The reason I mentioned here. Rent paid. Why is rent paid the reason? What is rent paid? Rent is any value, the benefit of which is taken in the past, that is already taken. So in this case, if someone comes to you at the end of May and asks you for rent, the landlord asks you for rent, that means you have taken the benefit of the land for the entire month. So the benefit has already been taken. That's why they're asking you for rent. So in this case, the benefit is already taken. So it is an expense. Since the benefit has already been taken, this value is an expense value. Now, in bracket, you can write the name of the expense in this case. That is rent. You always write this separately. For now, you always write expenses first and then the name of the expenses separately. Why? You will see by the end of the lecture. Now, 20,000. Correct. This is the logic, like I mentioned before. Now, see if the criteria for double entry is getting satisfied. Net impacts is minus 20,000 cash at the end of the month. What is the reason for the impact? Expenses for rent paid. That is the reason. Now, double entry system, another condition. Both sides should be equal. This side is equal to this side. Correct? Now, let's start with journal entries. I told you the rules. Now, I have to tell you the format. So, keep this in mind. Write this down. This is the first journal entry of your life. Rent account debited 20,000 to cash account 20,000. Wait. I'm going to explain everything. Now, what is this debit? What is this to? What is this account? DR is the short form for debit. As per our super secret technique, I forgot to write this down. Whenever an asset or expenses increase, it will be debited. And whenever an asset and expense decrease, it will be credited. Correct? The journal entry is not over. I just wrote this down to explain the format. Why, how to do it, I'm going to explain right now. Pay attention. Now, first case. Here, cash, which is an asset, it gets reduced. So since cash gets reduced, which is an asset, whenever assets gets reduced, it will be credited. So this is the credit entry. Second, expenses. An expenses increases by 20,000. So whenever an expenses increases, it will be debited. So this is the debit entry. Why is this the debit? Why is this the credit entry? How to identify which is the debit and credit entry? This is another question you can ask. So here, this DR is the short form of debit. You can write debit also, but they've been following DR for a long time. Just follow it, it'll be easy, it'll get over quickly. So, rent account DR means rent account debited. Now, what is why is to cash account written? To cash account is the format for a credit entry. It is the same thing. Whenever you have to credit any item, you have to write to before it. To is the representation of credit entries. And why do I write account here? The reason for this is big. I will tell you by the end of this journal entry chapter. Right now, I don't want to tell you that. Don't worry, I won't forget anything. I'm going to tell you every reason. But for now, you just write account as this is the format. This is the normal format. Concept I taught you. You now learn the format also. Why should we give examiners the reason to even cut 1 mark? Write this format perfectly. So, whenever you have to write a debit entry. So in this case, expenses increases, so it should be debited. It is expenses account, debit the DR after that, and the amount 20,000. And to that is here cash, which is an asset, to asset account, because asset is reduced, is credited. Asset account credit in the credit side and 20,000 amount. This is the reason. Now, I'm going to give you another 2 cases by which your format will be thorough. Don't, if you have any doubt in your mind right now, keep it with yourself. By the end of 2 more cases, like before, this format of journal entry will also become thorough. Wait, there's a sequence which I need to follow. That's why. Now, another question I get is, why is there a gap here? This also is a format. Our forefathers have been doing it, so we should also do it. There's no reason. Is this the format? Now, usually after journal entries, they write something called narration here. So what is the narration? Narration, see, we both understand what this entry means. It means rent account expenses increases, which is rent. So rent account as it increases should be debited. It comes in the debit side. And cash account, which is an asset, it gets reduced. So it comes in the credit side. We understand this entry. But everybody will not understand it. People who are very new to accountancy will not understand this entry. So for their understanding, we write this narration explaining this journal entry in words. So write being rent paid 20,000 or being rent paid only or rent paid 20,000 rupees cash. You can write anything. The concept only matters. The names, this journal entry format or journal entry format matters. This narrations format doesn't matter. But write being before it. Because I don't want you to give the examiner any reason to cut even half a mark. Sometimes they may not, your concept will be thorough. So they will not be able to challenge you in that regard. So they'll try to cut marks using this. So let's be careful. Now, another thing. Oh, I didn't tell you if the double entry system is satisfied in this entry. What is the meaning of double entry system? First one, impact, cash gets reduced by 20,000. The reason is rent paid. Second checking, this debit side is equal to the credit side. When I mentioned 2 sides should be equivalent in value, I mentioned debit and credit. I couldn't tell debit and credit because you needed to understand this first. So trust me, everything will be told. Now, you can say that there are only 2 entries here. Obviously, the debit will be equal to the credit. Correct. There are only 2 terms here, so debit will be equal to credit. But however, there may be cases where there will be 2-3 debit entries, 2-3 credit entries. You will do cases like that throughout this lecture. Don't worry. You won't miss out on anything. But at that time, the total of debit side should be equal to total of credit side. That's why this rule came where the debit side and credit side should be equivalent in value. That is 20,000 should be equal to 20,000. Now, and always make it a point to write debit entry first and credit entry first. Don't write 2 cash, then below you write rent account debited. This is the proper format you need to follow. Debit always comes first and credit comes in after that. Now, next question for concept building. Machine purchased for rupees 3 lakhs and paid in cash. This is the question. Like I told you, now it's time for the logic. Let's think of the logic first. Think like this. Net impact paid in cash. So 3 lakh, which is paid in cash, means 3 lakh rupees cash gets reduced from the business. What is cash? And never forget these definitions. This is the key. You have to see the rules and the definition go together. I would already memorize the definition now, so it'll be easy. Value, the benefit of which will be taken in the future. It doesn't matter if cash is paid or not. That is the definition of an asset. So here, cash is an asset because the value of cash can always be taken in the future. Its benefit can always be taken in the future, so it's an asset. An asset of 33 lakh rupees cash will be reduced at the end. That is first impact. Now, double entry system. The reason for the impact. What is the reason for the impact? The reason is machine gets purchased. No. So a new machinery comes into the business. Some lack of clarity can be felt at this point. The full guarantee of full clarity by the end of this lecture. Patiently wait. Now, machinery increases by 3 lakh rupees. Machinery increased by 3 lakh rupees in value. This is the reason for the minus 3 lakh cash impact. The reason is machinery of 3 lakh got purchased. Now, what is the machinery? Go back to our definition. Asset. Value, the benefit of which will be taken in the future. Machinery, the value is this. Can machinery benefit be taken in the future? Yes. Always check like this. Always check with the definitions. You'll be able to solve every sum. Now, so as per the definition mentioned above, machinery is a value, the benefit of which will be taken in the future. So this is the reason. Now, journal entries. Whenever you're going to start with journal entries, you write your super secret techniques here. Assets and expenses, when they increase, will be debited. When they decrease, will be credited. Liability, revenue, and capital, when they increase, will be credited. When they decrease, will be debited. Write shortly in the side. Right now, we are not learning about liability, revenue, and capital, but write it down. Now, it will be part of your muscle memory by the end of this lecture. Now, let's solve this. Let's convert this logic into journal entries. Now, it's easy. First, cash gets reduced by 3 lakhs. What is cash? Cash is an asset. The value, the benefit of which can be taken in the future. Whenever cash gets reduced by 3, reduced. So reduced means it will be credited. What is the format for credit? To cash account 3 lakhs. Second part, machine. Machine is an asset. The value, the benefit of which should be taken in the future. So machine increases. Machine increases, so machine will be debited. The format for machine account debited 3 lakhs. Now narration. I'm going to write narration only for 2 more cases. Then you write on your own. Write anything by machine purchased. They should not cut half marks. That's the reason I'm writing narration. Or else when you come to CA level, no, they don't care about narration. They only care about concept. That's what I'm going to teach you. But I'll also make you get 100% in your code exams in accountancy. Now, machine account debited to cash account. This is the entry. Now, the reason I solve the entry in this way, by first taking cash, first writing credit entry, then writing debit entry, is for you to get something clear in your mind. You can do it in any order. You could have even done machinery increases. So machine account debited 3 lakh rupees to cash decreases. Cash is an asset. Since machine also is an asset, cash also is an asset. Machine increases to debited. Cash decreases to credited 3 lakh. This can also be done. But the net thing is the conditions of a double entry system should be satisfied. What are the conditions? First, net impact 3 lakh rupee cash gets reduced from the business. The reason for the impact, machine gets purchased. One condition is satisfied. Second condition, debit should be equal to credit. 3 lakh is equal to 3 lakh. 3 lakh on the debit side is equal to 3 lakh on the credit side. So both conditions of double entry system are satisfied. So it doesn't matter which you solve first. Clear? Yeah. Now let's go to the next question. This is the final concept building question. After this is done, let's start with book questions, where every single question you have gets solved. By the end of this lecture itself, you will be a little thorough. But don't refer to any material. Let the 6 lecture get over. After that, you open any book, you'll be the king in it. Now, final question. This is where your proper super secret technique and the definitions both should be used together. This is how questions come. First, building purchased for rupees 8 lakh out. I hope you're writing everything I'm telling you. If you have not written, pause it and write it. Why I'm telling you to write it is there's a way to revise during your exams. With me, you're already solving each and every question. So it's already there in your mind. Before your exams, you just need to look at every single question and solve one question from each chapter. That one question also, I am going to like tick mark, use a tick mark to signify which question you have to solve. So go through every question, just read it, solve that one question by hand, then just look through the other questions. That's it. That's how you have to revise. You revise everything is already in your mind, you'll be thorough and you'll be ready to write exams. Now, continue with this question. Out of which 3 lakh cash is paid and the rest by check. Come on. Now, this is the part where concept takes full picture now. Now, before starting, whenever you use the word check, it means by bank. That's it. You can't use the word check in your account, write bank. Replace bank by the word check whenever solving questions. That's all. Now, let's start. Now, don't look at the question and say, oh, I don't know the full question, full answer, so I don't know if I'm able to solve it. Basics of journal entry, start with what you already know. Because anyway, you're going to write the logic first. We are going to divide each and every question into separate parts and write the logic and just copy the logic in the journal entry format. That's how we are going to solve each and every question. That is the simplest and best way to do it. Now, what is the logic? First, building purchased for 8 lakh. This is the first part of the question. Break the question. First question. Building gets increased by 8 lakhs. What is building? Again, definitions. The value, the benefit of which will be taken in the future. Is building's value or benefit can be taken in the future? Yes. So building is an asset. As simple as that. Use a simple definition. Everything can be classified into this 5. I'll show you as and when the lecture progress. So building is an asset. Now, first part you already used. Second part, out of it, 3 lakh cash is paid. So what is the meaning of this? 3 minus cash, 3 lakh gets reduced from the business. Correct? Now, what is cash? Cash is also an asset, like mentioned before. Cash value can always be taken, benefit of cash value can be taken in the future. Now, what is the final part? And the rest by check. Out of 8 lakh rupees for the building, you paid 3 lakh rupee cash to purchase it. So what is the remaining amount? 5 lakh. That means 5 lakh you paid by check. That is by bank. So here minus your bank balance. If a bank is the short form of bank balance. So bank balance get reduced by 5 lakh. What is a bank? Bank is also an asset. because the benefit of a bank balance can always be taken in the future. So bank is also an asset as far as definition concerned. So this is the logic. See, this tough question can be broken down in this simple way logic. Now see if write down a super secret technique because you're solving only assets and expenses. I'm more write only assets and expenses. Asset and expenses when they increase will be debited. Assets and expenses when they decrease will be credited. Always write the super secret technique next to every journal entry till for the next two lectures at least. After that, it'll be part of your muscle memory. After two lectures, you won't even need logic. My body will automatically start writing because your concept will be that clear. Now, let's solve it. All we need to do is convert this logic into journal entries. First part, building is an asset. When asset increases, it will be debited. Building, what is the format for debit? Building account debited to 8 lakhs. Now cash is an asset. It will be credited because it decreases. What is the format for credit? To cash account 3 lakh. Now again, final part of the logic. Now bank account is an asset. It gets reduced. So it will also be credited to bank. Five lakhs. Now let's check double entry system is satisfied. Two reasons. Net impact on the business first. At the end of the month, cash of 3 lakh gets reduced from your business and bank of 5 lakh gets reduced from your business. Correct? Net impact. The reason building was purchased. Correct? Now, second part of double entry system. Debit size total is equal to credit size total. That's the reason I chose this question. It solves all the confusion you have right now. Now, write narration. Being building purchased. You can write by building purchased 3 lakh rupees for cash, 5 lakh rupees for bank, or just write by building purchased enough. They should just know you know the format. Now, this concept is over. Concept of journal entry for now is over. We're going to start with sums now. You always keep this in mind that no matter what we do, we should always go back to our basics of this definition and this super secret technique. These two are enough to solve any question of journal entries. I'm going to just tell you how to solve it, how to use these two. Other than that, it's the same thing. Now, before I start, I told you that accountancy is the language of business. It's true. But one advantage with accountancy is usually to master any language, it takes years. But for accountancy, it's only going to take these 6 lectures that I'm going to give you. So if you pay attention, because one thing I can guarantee you is the conceptual clarity you're going to have will be immense. You will never be frustrated by any question. But things you have to be focused and revise each and every question after the class. By revise, I don't mean solve each and every question. After the class is over, I only want 5 minutes of your time. Go through the questions and solve one question by hand. That's it. That's enough for revision. After that, go to the next lecture. That's how we're going to solve each and everything of the whole of 11th and 12th and CA Foundation accountancy. Let's start. I'm going to make you prepare for board exams from now. Start preparing actually, because when you're going to write board exam, you'll go like you're going to watch a movie. You'll be that confident and thorough. Now let's start. The first question. Now I already the questions are given in the PDF below. So either take a printout of it or keep it as a soft copy in some other device. Or as in, I'm going to project each and every question. Write down the small points of each and every question as and when I tell you, and then pause it and then continue with the chapters. Continue with the lectures. It's important to always keep in mind which answer is to which question. It will help you during revision. I want this entire lecture, my goal is to make this a one-stop shop to the entire accountancy's concept and syllabus. You don't have to refer to anything else outside this. It'll be simple for you. Now, you just have to revise and read it, nothing else. You'll be thorough and 100% is your goal. Always keep this in mind. No pressure. You want to after this lecture. So now, firm purchase machinery costing 10 lakhs and payment made in cash. Correct. So this is the first question. Now, let's start with the logic. We've already discussed the example before. It's similar logic. First one, what happens first? Breaking the question down. Machinery increases, which is worth 10 lakh rupees. What is machinery? Machinery is an asset because the value of machinery can always be taken, benefit of the machinery can be taken in the future. So it is an asset. No. And payment made in cash. So payment is made in cash, which is also an asset, gets reduced by 10 lakhs. Now, super secret techniques time. Let's copy it. Now let's start in this way. Let's start with cash. Cash, which is an asset, it gets reduced. So it will be credited to cash account 10 lakhs credit side. Now machine, which is an asset, it gets debited. Machinery account debited because it has increased 10 lakh rupee. Now narration, you write whatever you want. Now just double entry system checking. Both sides are equal. In net impact, 10 lakh rupee gets reduced in a business. The reason is machinery purchase. Yeah. Now next question. Let's be quick because I already told you the concept. Firm purchased furniture costing 5 lakhs and payment made in cash rupees 3 lakh and balance by check. This is the first question. This is already mentioned in your book. So it's best you take a photocopy or soft copy or a printout. It will be better than this writing down the questions. Don't waste your time. Now, firm purchase furniture costing 5 lakh and payment made in cash rupees 3 lakh and balance by check. This concept I told you in the previous question itself. So the logic should be easy now. First part, break it down. Furniture costing 5 lakh by furniture. The value of furniture can be taken, the benefit can be taken in the future. So furniture is an asset. It increases by 5 lakh. Payment made in cash 3 lakh. Cash, which is another asset, gets reduced by 3 lakhs. Balance by check. Check should always be replaced by bank. So check means bank balance, which is also an asset because the value of the bank balance can always be taken in the future. You always use only this definition for every concept in accountancy. Whenever somebody asks you what is an expense, what is an asset, you use this definition. It's fine. Now, 2 lakh. Conceptually perfect. Why 2 lakh? 5 lakh minus 3 lakh is 2 lakh because the balance only is paid by bank. Now it becomes simple. Once the logic is done, logic also is simple for you. So once the logic is done, you just have to convert this logic into journal entries. But I want you to write logic for each and every question till the end of this chapter. Now, at least this lecture. Now, debited equivalence. Now, let's start from this side now. Bank. Bank gets reduced. Bank is an asset. The format for credit. To bank account credited 2 lakh rupees. Sorry on my 2 lakh. Then to cash. Cash is also an asset. And an asset reduces will be credited. Format for credit is to cash account 3 lakhs. It can be in any order. Double entry systems conditions only need to be satisfied. Now, furniture. Furniture is an asset. An asset increases. So, if an asset increases, it will be debited. 5 lakhs. Now, check if the condition for the double entry system is satisfied. First condition. what is the net impact on the business at the end of the month? Bank gets reduced by 2 lakh at the end. Cash gets reduced by 3 lakh at the end. The reason? Furniture purchased for bank and cash. Now, another next condition. Debit side is equal to credit side. Now, narration, you write anything, right? Being furniture purchased. Now, cash deposited into bank. Here comes the conceptual part. Now, this entry is a little different from the previous entry, right? Previous questions were different. Now, this question is different. No matter how different any question is, follow the logic. Break down the question. Cash deposited into bank 20,000. If cash is deposited into bank, this essentially means we have an office and this is the bank. We have cash of this much money, 20,000 in this case. We take the cash and we go to the bank and put it inside our bank account. The bank's cashier does it. That is the meaning of this entry. So in concept, what does it mean? Cash, which is our asset, cash gets reduced, right? Because we go and deposit it into the bank. Because an asset reduces 20,000 rupees. And second, bank balance is also an asset. We broken down the entry into two. Now bank balance increases. So when bank balance increases, it will be debited. Now write a super secret technique in the side. Now let's convert this logic into journal entries. So starting, cash gets reduced, which is an asset. So whenever asset decreases, it will be credited. Then bank, which is an asset, it gets increased. So whenever an asset increases, they'll be debited. So just break down the question and solve it. It'll be easy. If only the questions covered here will come in the exams. Be rest assured. Now, narration for a change, being cash deposited into bank. Okay. Next question. You're clear with this question, right? Cash you physically had, you go and put it in the bank account by giving it to the bank's cashier. That's what this entry means. So your physical cash in your business gets reduced and your bank balance increases by the same amount. Now next, purchase equipment for 20 lakh on credit from Shyam Brothers. Now on credit, what does on credit means? Now this essentially means that, example, we'll take the previous example. We are ABC Limited. We go to the vendor whose name is Shyam Brothers. And we purchase equipment from him. After we purchase, we tell him that we don't have cash right now. So we'll pay after we get cash. That is essentially what you're telling. Credit means you don't have cash right now, but you'll pay him afterwards. That's what credit means. Now, how do we solve this question? Again, let's break it down and use the logic. Purchase equipment for 2 lakhs. What is the definition? Value the benefit of which will be taken in the future. It doesn't matter if cash is paid or not. So as per this definition, equipment is purchased. So equipment's value, the benefit of equipment's value can be taken in the future. And it doesn't matter if cash is paid or not, it is still an asset. So logic, equipment increases by 20 lakhs asset and on credit. So you're not paying him. So cash does not get reduced, bank does not get reduced. So what happens? You need to satisfy the condition of double entry system. Impact on this reason and both sides should be equal. Only one side is given. What is the other side? On credit. So when ABC Limited goes to Sham Brothers and tells them that give me the equipment, I'll pay cash later. After he gets the equipment, what is on top of ABC Limited's head? It has an headache or an obligation to pay Sham Brothers the money for the equipment. So it's an obligation, correct? An obligation increases. Obligation of 20 lakh because we need to pay him 20 lakh. That is a headache. 20 lakhs headache increases. Now, what is the meaning of an obligation? Any obligation means a liability. As per the definition. So here, this is a liability. Now, in ABC Limited's books, what will you write the headache's name, the liability's name, or the obligation's name? You write Sham Brothers. Because you need to pay Sham Brothers, so the liability or obligation's name is also Sham Brothers. Now, another question. For example, you purchase 10 equipments, one from Sham Brothers, one from Mohan Brothers, one from Reliance. So, will you write all these names separately? The answer is yes. You write all these names separately. The salaries example that I gave you before of you writing A, B, C, D's name, instead of writing A, B, C, D's name, writing outstanding salary. That is only for this part, for expenses. When it comes to vendors or liabilities, you have to write their name separately. Now, if in the same question they say purchase equipment 20 lakhs on credit, they don't mention the Sham Brothers name. It's just on credit. Then what do you write as liabilities name? If that is the case, you instead of Sham Brothers, you write vendor account. Why account? By the end of these 5 lectures, it's an important concept. Be patient. Now, our super secret technique. Assets and expenses, liability, revenue, capital. When assets and expenses increase, it will be debited. When they decrease, it will be credited. And this increase will be credited. When this decrease will be debited. Okay. So let's break it down. Equipment. Equipment is an asset. An asset increases, debited. First debit entry always comes first in the format. Equipment account debited 20 lakhs to. Why did I write directly 2? Because I know there are only 2 entries. Both sides should be equal, so it must be a credit entry. That's why I wrote 2. There's no other reason. Now, to Sham Brothers. Why to Sham Brothers? Because it's an obligation, it's a liability. Whenever liability increases, it will be credited. So it comes in the credit side. If the format to write a credit entry, it starts with 2, which is right after the debit entry. So, to Sham Brothers. Account 20 lakhs. Now, narration. Right? Being equipment purchased. Okay. Purchase on credit or purchase on credit from Sham Brothers. Anything can be can be a narration. Now, let's see if the double entry system is satisfied here. What is the double entry system? First one, equipment. This is the impact on the business at the end of the month. An obligation by the name of Sham Brothers increases by 20 lakhs. The reason is an equipment is purchased on credit. Same, second case. Second, debit side's value should be equal to credit side value. So both are done. So now journal entry is basic concept and the first sum is solved. Now, I'm going to give you another sum, which we're going to solve together. Once these sums are solved, this has 11 cases. Why 11? After you finish 11 cases, already the cases discussed and the basic concept journal will be thorough. I'll leave you after it. Now, let's start. Same. Let's follow our basic rules. Or this question number 2, open your PDF and then start with question number 2. Now, always write a super secret technique here. Liability, revenue, capital, when they increase, will be credited. When they decrease, will be debited. Asset, expenses, increases debit, decreases credit. Now, firm paid rent, rupees 10,000. So, firm paid rent, rupees 10,000. Same, let's start. What is the logic? First, plus and minus. Plus and minus because I know the answers. You don't just write plus and minus for everything. You may plus and plus also. Like we saw here. Just follow the logic and the formula. You don't have to do anything else. Now, 2. Breakdown. Paid rent. Paid. Cash must have gone out. So 2. Cash, which is an asset, gets reduced by 1 second. Gets reduced by 10,000 on the business. The reason is rent. But I always told you write rent in the bracket. You write expenses. Now, why expenses? Because rent is paid only after you take the benefit of the rent for the first of the last month. Because you took the benefit of the rent for the last month, you took benefit of the value of rent of 10,000 for the previous month. So it's already taken whenever it is taken. So it's an expense. Always use the definition. Expenses is the common part. The name, rent, commission, salary, all those are just examples of the explanation of expenses. Now, simple, convert this into journal entries. How do you convert it? First, expenses. Expenses increases will be debited. So, don't write expenses here, write rent here. This is logic for your understanding. For people's understanding, you can't just write expenses. You have to tell them which expense. So, rent account. Rent account debited 10,000. Why account? Next class. 2, because many people have asked me continuously when I'm teaching live classes. Then 2 cash 10,000. As cash gets reduced, cash is an asset. When it gets reduced, is credit. This is the first entry. Journal narrations you write on your own. Now, second entry. Firm paid salary 20,000 by check. I told you before, whenever by check, it means by bank. Now, firm paid salary, same concept. Expenses, salary increases by 20,000 and check, that is bank asset, is decreased by 20,000. Another question that people ask now, you say paid salary and salary is an expense, and the definition for salary for expenses is the value, the benefit of which is already taken. It doesn't matter if cash is paid or not. But in this case, you paid salary without taking benefit. That you treated as advance, you treated as prepaid salary as an asset. How do you know that this salary paid is not prepaid? How do you know the benefit of this salary is taken? The reason is whenever the question is given blatantly, you always assume that the benefit of this expense is already taken. That is already an expense. Don't assume it as advance salary and all. the questions, whenever they ask this and don't mention anything else, they just say salary paid or any expenses paid. Assume the benefit of the expense is already taken, so it is a clear-cut expense. Now, converting into journal entry, same our super secret technique, debit, credit, expenses, that is salary, because we need to tell the shareholder exactly what the expense is. Salary account increases, so it's debited 20,000 to bank account is an asset decreases, so it'll be credited. Format for credit is to and ending with account after debit side entry. Now write narrations. To salary paid by check. Being salary. Now why being? You write being also is a little boring, but that is also part of the format. Now rent 30,000 still outstanding at the end of the year. Now here is what is a little conceptual part. I've already told you the thing about outstanding at the end of the year's treatment. You remember? Salary outstanding part where you didn't pay him cash, but expenses were incurred, so you treat it as an obligation. The same part here. In a little more detail, I'll explain now. Now, rent 30,000 still paid, still outstanding at the end of the year. What does that mean? This is the year April 2022 to March 2023. Now, always keep this in mind. I explained this properly in basic accounting terms. Financial year is always from 1st April to 31st March of the next year. It's not January to February. That is calendar year. This is financial year. We always, whenever it comes to accounts, we always deal in financial year. Okay. Now, what this essentially means is rent rupees 30,000 still outstanding at the end of the year. That means at this end, there is a rent outstanding obligation in your books. The benefit of which rent you already took in the previous year. This is what this question actually means. That is, you already took the benefit of the entire building for the entire year, but over 30,000 rupees you didn't pay. Because you didn't pay 30,000, there's a rent outstanding. Like you have to pay that 30,000 at the end of the year, which you have not paid. So what is the entry? Simple. You are not paid yet. They didn't say you're making payment also. They're just telling outstanding. That means you're not paid yet. So simple entry. First, increase in expenses. What are the expenses? Rent. Why rent is an expense? Because the entire rent's benefit is taken in the previous year. Only the amount is not paid. That's why it's outstanding. Plus 30,000. And since cash is not paid, at the end of the year, the firm has an obligation or a headache to pay this 30,000 to the landlord. So it's an obligation or a headache. If it's an obligation, it is a liability as per our definition. An obligation is a liability. So the name of the liability, right? You didn't pay rent, so outstanding rent. You read anything, rent not paid account, outstanding rent account, anything you read, rent outstanding account. It doesn't matter. Concept matters. Any name you can give for the account. Now, you just need to convert this into journal entries now. Assets, expenses, increase debited, decrease credited, liability, revenue, and capital when the increase will be credited, when the decrease will be debited. Now, let's convert. Expenses increase. Rent account debited 30,000. Outstanding rent. Outstanding rent is an obligation, so it's a liability. Whenever liability increases, it will be credited. So it'll come on the credit side to outstanding rent account. Don't just write to liability, write outstanding rent account because the shareholders or the owners should know what the actual obligation is called. Okay. This is the concept. Now narration. Being rent outstanding, or being not paid, or being rent is actually not paid because I have fever. Anything, right? Anything in narration. Concept should be clear. Now, you understood the entire concept of rent outstanding, right? Because you just need, what you need to do is you need to think of the definition and you need to think of the super secret rules. Use both to solve any question. I'm just teaching you how to use your mind to use both. Now, since the benefit of rent is already taken in the previous year, it is an expense. It doesn't matter if rent is not paid. That is the first part. Outstanding means this much amount is not paid. So 30,000 is not paid. If you don't specify the amount, they just say outstanding, then the entire amount you have to write. Yeah, but you don't know which amount to write. So they have to mention some amount. Just follow it. Just follow these simple techniques. You'll be able to solve every question. Even right now, if you have some doubts also, there's no chance you'll have doubt. If some minute doubts are there, in the next lecture, this full outstanding topic will be covered in more detail because you'll be doing little more sums in that. You'll automatically try to understand. You'll get a grasp of it immediately. You essentially can understand it even now. Have a look at it, just read it through once, you will get it properly. Now, salary paid 10,000 and still payable at the end of rupees 8,000. See, lucky you got another such opportunity. Now, salary paid rupees 10,000 and still payable at the end rupees 8,000. What does that actually mean? Whenever they say paid, that means cash now, or bank. Anything is fine. Now, bank and cash both have the same treatment. You can either pay by bank, you can either pay by cash. That's completely up to you. Now, for this case, I'll do by bank, okay? Let's start with the logic now. Break down the entry. Salary paid rupees 10,000. So bank, which is an asset, gets reduced by 10,000 rupees. Now, next, still payable at the end, rupees 8,000. That means the total rent must have been 18,000. Wait. I'll complete. Example. Now, the rent is 18,000. This is a different case. You go to the landlord, you pay him 10,000 cash. For salary, you go to the employee, you pay him 10,000 cash. And 8,000, you say that I'll pay later. So 8,000 is outstanding. So it's an obligation or a liability on your head to pay 8,000 later. So if 10,000 is paid, 8,000 outstanding, that means 18,000, that is the total is a salary, actual salary. Same case here. They're telling 10,000 is paid and 8,000 is payable. That means 18,000 is a salary. Correct? So expenses, which is salary, is 18,000. Correct? Why is this an expense? Basically, what would have happened is, say, from the previous example, I will continue. Ram, he worked for the month of May and his salary is 18,000. At the end of May, he comes and asks for salary. For the period of May, we took the benefit of the entire services of Ram. We took this entire 18,000's value. 18,000 is the worth of his work. We took the entire worth of his work in the month of May. So the benefit of this 18,000 is already taken in the month of May. It doesn't matter if cash is paid or not. This 18,000 is the entire salary. So out of the 18,000, 10,000 they paid cash. Sorry, here they paid bank. And remaining 8,000 is payable. Payable means outstanding. So here 8,000 is payable means an obligation or a headache. Is the headache of the firm to pay the 8,000 rupees. So an obligation increases by 8,000 and the name of the obligation, anything rent payable or outstanding rent. This is the concept. If still any doubt, wait for the next lecture. the same concept will be explained thoroughly as and when we do more questions. But mostly there are about 0.0001% chance you have any doubt in this. Now, you just have to convert this into entries. Same super secret techniques. Assets and expenses, when they increase, you have to debit. When they decrease, you have to credit. Liability, revenue, and capital, when they increase, you have to credit. When they decrease, you have to debit. Correct? Let's start. Expenses. Salary increases. So salary account debit 18,000. Then to bank, because bank is an asset, it gets reduced. To bank account 10,000. An obligation is a liability. When liability increases, it will be credited. So to liability, that is outstanding rent 8,000. Now in narration, you write salary paid 10,000, 8,000 payable. Anything. Salary paid by cash rupees 10,000, by bank rupees 10,000, and 8,000 is not paid yet. You write anything, but write being before it because it's part of the format. Now check. Let's always check after every entry if the conditions of double entry system are satisfied. First condition. What is the net impact on the business at the end of the month? Bank gets reduced by 10,000 and there's an obligation by the name of outstanding rent of 8,000 in the books. The reason is salary, 10,000, which of which 10,000 is paid and 8,000 outstanding. Second condition of double entry. Debit side is equal to credit side total 18,000 is equal to 10,000 plus 8,000, 18,000. Done. Next. Firm paid rupees 45,000 electricity charges, out of which rupees 25,000 paid in cash and balance through check. It's a very simple concept. Already we discussed it. Electricity charges is also another expenses. So we took the benefit of 45,000 rupees worth electricity charges for the month, for the previous month. So the benefit of this 45,000 is already taken. It doesn't matter if cash is paid or not, or how the cash is paid. So paid 45,000 electricity charges means increase in 45,000 as expenses. Electricity charges. Now, out of which 20,000 paid in cash, 25,000 cash gets reduced because it's paid. Cash is an asset. And balance through check. Balance means 20,000, 45,000 minus 25,000. So check means bank. And another asset of bank gets reduced by 20,000. This is the logic. Journal entry. Assets and expenses, when they increase, will be debited. When they decrease, will be credited. Correct? Now here, let's start from here. Start from anywhere, just finish it fully. By bank so that it tallies. By to bank account 20,000. Why? Bank is an asset. An asset decreases will be credited. Then cash is an asset. When asset decreases will be credited. Electricity charges is an expense. When expenses increases will be debited to electricity charges account. What is the amount? 45,000. Double entry system is both are equal. Net impact minus 25,000 cash gets reduced, minus 20,000 bank gets reduced. Reason is electricity charges. Correct? Now, this is the main part. Firm paid 20,000 salary to Ram, an employee. Now, this is the easy part. The next one is the main part. Firm paid rupees 20,000 salary to Ram, an employee. This question we already did, but let's do it again. Salary, expenses, 20,000 paid. So cash is an asset. I hope you're also solving with me at the same time. If you're doing it before me, great. But watch it also. I will explain a better way to do each and everything. So watch the whole lecture and solve will go together. That's how it'll be very helpful during revisions. When you solve with me, you'll become thorough. Now, don't wait for me to write, then copy. From now on, make it a practice to write with me. Now just convert it. Super secret technique. Make it a point to always write the super secret technique. It'll be part of your muscle memory by the end of this lecture. Now, salary. Salary is an expense. When expense increases, debited 20,000. Cash is an asset. When asset decreases, it will be credited by 20,000. Now you write narration. Salary paid to Ram or just salary paid or anything. But make them understand that what the entry is actually. Rent paid in advance, rupees 10,000. This case also we discussed before, right? Rent paid in advance. What does this mean? This means that you are the firm ABC Limited. At the end of May, you took the benefit of the land and the property for the whole month of May. So you took the benefit of the rents expenses for month of May. But at the end of month of May, you had some extra cash. So you paid the rent of June also before taking benefit of the services. That's what advance means. So what does it mean? Basically, let's break it down. Rent paid in advance. So paid, it's not an expense. Okay? Look at this definition. Value, the benefit of which is already taken. Rent paid in advance is the June's rent. That is advance rent value benefit taken. No, it will be taken only in June. At the end of June, you can say that the value is taken fully. Here, the benefit is not even taken. It's not even started being taken. So it's not an expense. So it's not an expense. What will it be? Look at the definition again. Look at the definition of assets now. The value, the benefit of which will be taken in the future. It does not matter if cash is paid or not. This is the same for both. Both say follow the same definition. For both, it does not matter if cash is paid or not. So here, let's start first. Rent paid. So if it's paid means you paid cash. Cash is an asset. So assets gets reduced by 10,000 rupees. Now let's come to the main point. This point we knew already. The main point, rent paid in advance. So if rent paid in advance, what does it mean? So this rent 10,000 is a value, the benefit of which will be taken in June, which is the future, because this was the month of May. This entry is in the end of May. This is the entry is before June. So the value of the rent of June can be taken only in June. It will be taken in the future. So it is an asset. What is the meaning? What type of asset is it? Any asset, right? Advance rent or rent paid before the expense is going to be incurred. Any name can be done. It can be any however long. But advance rent is the most commonly used term. Now, see, accountancy is an art. So it has few basic concepts. So it's a science also. So it has few basic concepts that you need to understand. Apart from that, you can be creative with names and how to pass entries. More and more you learn these journal entries by the end of 6 lectures. The concept will be same, but you will have a different way of doing it because you will become creative once you understand the concept. Now, what you need to do is just convert this into journal entries. So use super secret technique, increase debit, decrease credit, advance rent. What is advance rent? Advance rent is an asset. This advance rent, I explain this advance concept as part of salary. In this third point. No, in the second point. Remember, it's the same concept. Now let's continue with the next question. Oh, before let's solve the journal entries. Advance rent, account debited, 10,000 to cash account. Now, what is the narration? Advance rent, being rents advanced, rent paid in advance, cash paid for rent's benefit which is not taken, anything. So we credited cash with cash in asset when it decreases will be credited. Now, the next question. There are only 4 more cases. 1, 2, 3, and 4. After these 4 cases, you can go home. But these 4 cases, once they over, even your journal entry concept will be thorough for the starting class. You'll be free now. You'll be happy that you learned something productively. The next chapter, the next question, the next not only questions, the chapters, the next lectures will become easy. So after this is over, go through it for 5 minutes, then solve one question by hand. So you're going to solve this question by hand. Okay, I already marked this now. Go home, go through the pages that you wrote, go through every question that you solve now, and solve this question by hand. And then do whatever you want. Enjoy. This is the time you need to enjoy. But take 5 minutes. Only 5 minutes is enough. Now, 8th question. Total cash paid for salary, which 40,000, out of which rupees 10,000 was for the next year. The wordings are different, concept are same. What does this actually mean? Say this is May. Okay. Oh, for the year. So say this is 1st April to 31st March 2023, 2022. Okay. So what this means is they paid cash of 40,000 rupees. That is at the end of the year, 31st March only, they paid 40,000 rupees in cash. Okay. So minus 40,000 gets reduced from cash. So out of this 40,000, 10,000 was for next year. That means there may be employees working for you for the entire month, for the entire year. So out of this 40,000, 30,000 is the value of the benefit you already took. The value of the employee services whose benefit you already took is 30,000 and 10,000 is for next year. What does that mean? For year 2023-24. What does that mean? That means this 10,000 is the value of benefit which you will take in the future. This 10,000 salary, this benefit you didn't even take during this year because this year has not started. But this 30,000 benefit you already took during the entire year. So out of 40,000 salary, 10,000 was for next year. Next year has not come. So 30,000 benefit has been taken and 10,000 will be taken in the next year. It's not been taken. It will be taken in the future. So 10,000 is an asset. That's the concept. I hope every concept that I explained till now is clear. I am actually confident that it'll be clear. If it's not, don't worry. We'll spend a lot of time with each other. By the end of the 6th lecture, everything will be clear. This to have proper conceptual clarity for now. But 99% of the time will be cleared by now. Just go through it again for that 1%. Don't go through the video if you want. Go through the notes. Any doubts, that time you click on that certain part of the video where you have a doubt. Now, total cash paid for salary. Now we need to write the logic. What we drew here, we need to write as logic now. So what is the logic? First, divide it into parts. Total cash paid. So cash asset gets reduced by 40,000. Out of which 10,000 was for next year. Correct. If 10,000 was for next year, that means 30,000 was for this year. If 30,000 was for this year, that means 30,000 is the expense, the benefit of which has been taken in this year. So 12,000 is the salary. Expenses is always the value, the benefit of which is already taken. It does not matter if cash is paid or not. Okay. Now 30,000. And final. Oh, I already written 30,000 here. Final. This 10,000. To satisfy double entry criteria, both sides should be equal, right? This 10,000 will be an asset advance salary. Now, there's another thing I would want to tell you. Always while checking if double entry system's conditions is satisfied, make it a point to not check it during the logic part. Check it for the journal entry transaction. Because the logic, you just focus on what the logic is and what the net effect and the reason. You just do it like that. If both the criteria are satisfied, you check it during your journal entry. For example, first let's convert this into journal entry. So, same super secret technique. Certain expenses, when they increase your debit and they decrease your credit. Assets and expenses. Now, first thing, salary is an expense. It is increasing. So it will be debited. Salary account debited 30,000 rupees. Now, advance salary is also an asset. An asset also increases. You have to debit it 10,000 rupees. Then cash gets reduced. Cash is an asset. When asset gets reduced, it will be credited. The format for credit is after debit entry, you have to write to the account name and the amount, which is in the logic. So when I told you check the double entry systems fulfillment during this part, during the journal entry part, that means don't check if these two are tallying here and the reasons here. Check only, let me be clear again. Check the reason part and the logic part here. The tallying part, you check only here. So here, the debit side is equal to the credit side. Because here you don't know which is debit or credit. Only after you use super secret technique, you'll know. You only do the net impact thing, and you find out the reason using that logic, and that's the only thing you need to do for the top part. The bottom part, you check the second condition of the double entry system where both sides should tally. Because after this only this comes, then only after super secret techniques you can identify which is debit or credit. Yeah, now firm purchase 40,000 rupees on cash basis. What is cash basis? Cash basis means for cash. That means he made cash payment. That is cash basis. Logic. Cash gets reduced. $40,000. Now, another thing you may observe is I wrote plus here and minus here directly. Why? Because I know the questions. I only made these questions. So I know it's plus and minus. You don't know. So first you're breaking down the question and first you're doing the cash part. Just write minus and cash. Then you write plus part separately for the other part of the transaction. Now, firm purchase goods for 40,000. Now, what is goods? So you write goods 40,000. Correct? That's what you thought, right? And goods, since it's a value, the benefit of which can be used in the future, so it's an asset. Now, I need to tell you something, another thing that's very important. In the whole of accountancy, whenever they say purchased goods, not purchase equipment, purchase building, purchase furniture, whenever they mention purchased of goods, you don't write goods account. There is no goods account. You always write purchases account. Okay? This is the rule. Purchases account you write. Now, another thing, goods is actually an asset. It can be the value of which can be used in the future. But for now, you always keep in mind, purchases account is always an expense account. Don't confuse the definition with this. This is the exception to the definition. Purchases account is an expenses account. Other than that, everything is follows the same definition. The reason why I'm not telling you the reason for this is it'll be taught in the next lecture. I want to go in a sequence because I need you to understand every single thing I'm telling you. Now, so purchases account, which is an expense account, increases and cash gets reduced. Converted into journal entry. Assets and expenses. Debit, credit. Purchases, which is an expense increases. So debited. Purchases account debit 40,000 to cash, which is an asset, it gets reduced and be credited 40,000. Firm purchase goods. Now narration, you write whatever you want. This is the part. Now keep this in mind. Same. Firm purchase goods. Purchase goods. No goods accounts, only purchase account. Purchase account is only exception. Purchase account is always an expense account. Okay. On credit basis. What does credit basis mean? Already been told before. That means on credit. What does on credit mean? That means ABC Limited goes to say Ram Traders and buys goods from him. And tells after Ram Traders gives him the goods, ABC the goods. ABC says that thank you, I gotten the goods, but I don't have cash right now. I'll pay later. So when you say you will pay later, that means on credit. I'll pay later means on that date he received the goods, but he didn't pay cash. So there's an obligation on top of ABC Limited's head to pay the cash. That's it. Now, logic. Because goods increases, purchases account increases. Purchase an account for understanding purposes, we say it's an expense account. 25,000. Other than that, the formulas for the definition is the same for every term. This also is the same, but I want you to remember it like this because the next concept will be very easy. Now, then on credit, credit means obligation. Obligation means liability of 25,000. What are the liabilities? Name. If they say from Ram Traders, you write Ram Traders here. But since they didn't say Ram Traders, I want you to write creditors account. Now, another question that may come to your mind. See, I have been a student, so I know what question came to mind at that time. That's why I'm going to tell you the answer before the question arises. In the previous question, I said purchase equipment for 20,000 on credit. Whenever it says on credit without mentioning the name, I told you to write vendor account. But here I'm telling when they does not say the name, you write creditor account. Why? Why? The reason is in the question itself. Here it is purchase of equipment. Whenever they say equipment, you have to write only vendor account. But whenever they say goods, that is purchase of goods. You always write creditor account. If the name of the person who sells the goods is mentioned, you write his name as the obligation. But if it's not mentioned, you always write creditor account. Now just convert it into journal entries, right? Using a super secret formula. Revenue, capital, credit, debit. Now purchases, which is an expense, if it increases, it will be debited 25,000. Then Ram Traders, the name is not mentioned, so here is creditors only. They just say on credit, they didn't mention the creditor's name. To creditors account, because creditors a liability increases will be credited. Like credit formula is this, debit format is this, 25,000. Now check if the double entry system's condition is satisfied. This is the way you have to check. I'll tell you one more time. During the logic, check this. At the end of the month, the net impact on the firm is there's an obligation of 25,000 that increases in the firm's books by the name of creditors. The reason is they purchase goods. That is the reason. First condition of double entry system is over. Second condition, you check here. The total of credit debit side is equal to total of credit side. 25,000 is equal to 25,000. That's it. Now, this is the final question that tells you the entire concept. That's why I put a tick here. I want you to practice this sum by hand. Other thing you just read. If you practice this sum by hand, every other concept will get revised. Now, before going into this, I want to tell you something about goods. What does goods actually mean? Well, I've covered this entire concept in basic accounting terms. Go through it after this chapter is over, after this lecture is over. But for now, to solve this question, I'm going to give you this. What does goods actually mean? Will take three cases. Reliance Oil, Tata Steel, ABC Stationery. Now, in this case, for Reliance Oil, what does it do? It buys oil at a cheaper rate, sells at a higher rate. Tata Steel, for now, for basic hypothetical understanding, you understand like this. Tata Steel, it buys oil at a cheaper rate, sells it at a cheaper, higher rate. ABC Stationery, they buy it at a cheaper rate and they sell it at a higher rate. These are full hypothetical cases, okay? This is just for concept. So, in this case, oil is the goods of Reliance, steel is the goods of Tata Steel, stationery is the goods of ABC Stationery. Goods basically means that product which you buy and sell for business purposes. As simple as that. Why I gave you this is, for example, tomorrow ABC Limited, ABC Stationery wants to start a shop at another place. So it wants to build its own building. For that, it purchased steel rods. Will that steel be goods? No. Steel is goods for Tata Steel because it buys and sells goods steel. It deals in steel. Here, steel will be fixed asset. Now, what is the fixed asset? Start in basic accounting terms. Look at it after this lecture is over. Now, this is clear. Now, I'm going to go to the final and concept building question that summarizes and clears every concept in this entire video. Now, firm purchased goods for 50,000 from suppliers, out of which 30,000 was paid in cash, 15,000 by check, and balance was payable after 1 month. Now, before starting, what is supplier? Supplier basically means the person who sells the goods. Okay. Now, as I told you before, purchase goods will be purchase account. Okay. No goods account and purchase account is an expense account. Now let's start with this sum. Whenever the sum is like this, when you don't know the full solution, you just know how the treatment of two parts. So first start with solving the part. By the end of the second part, the third part also will be completed on its own. You'll be clear at that time. Now, do what you know first. For example, you don't know what to do the above treatment. Do 30,000 was paid in cash. So logic minus cash, which is an asset, by 30,000 rupees. Then 15,000 was paid by check. Check means what? By bank. So bank, which is an asset, 15,000 is paid. Balance was payable after 1 month. I don't know what is this. So firm, go to the first entry, first part. Firm purchased goods for 50,000 from suppliers and 50,000 is a goods. You don't write goods account, so you write purchases account. So 50,000 increases and purchases account. Keep it in mind, it is an expense account. Correct. So these three are done. But balance was paid after 1 month. So what do we do here? 50,000 is bought worth goods. 30,000 is paid by cash. 15,000 is paid by bank. What is the balance amount? 5,000 rupees is left. You have to pay. So what is the reason for the 5,000? Was payable after 1 month. Payable means what? Same concept. This is May month. ABC goes to his supplier. That is the person who sells him goods. In this case, stationery. He purchased stationery. He got stationery by the end of the month. For that, the stationery is worth 50,000 rupees. He paid for, he paid, sorry. He paid 30,000 cash and 15,000 pay a bank. The remaining 5,000 ABC told sorry, supplier that I'll pay next month. So this 5,000 is a headache on top of ABC to pay. Headache, it's an obligation. Correct? So this 5,000 is an obligation. Obligation means it's a liability. The name of the liability. If they mention the supplier's name, you write the supplier's name because the name that guy is a liability for us. He's an headache. You have to pay him. It did not mention the supplier's name. So if the supplier's name is not mentioned for goods, right? Creditors. That's it. Now you have to convert this into what? Journal entry. Now, Mahamantra, or they say the most important super secret technique. Account assets, expenses, and the increase will be debited when the decrease will be credited. Liability, revenue, and capital when the increase will be credited, when the decrease will be debited. Okay. Now, we need to copy this and make it a journal entry. That's all. First, purchases account, purchase expenses increases 50,000. When expenses increase, it will be debited. So, purchases account debit 50,000. Now, next part. This is easy now. After doing logic, this just transferring part becomes easy. Now, cash asset 30,000 reduces. So, to cash account 30,000. Now, there are many items on debit side also, which you will learn in the next chapter, next lecture. Be patient. It'll become interesting from now on. Now you understood the concept. Now it'll become interesting for you. You'll start enjoying it. You'll love it now. Solving anything after understanding, it gives a lot of joy. Or else it'll be a headache if you don't understand it clearly. Now bank will also reduce. $15,000. Now finally, creditor is a liability. If liability increases, it will be credited. Now in the narration, you write purchased from cash 30,000, bank 15,000, creditor 5,000, or just write 2 purchases made. That is also enough. Now, again, double entry system. At the end of the month, this is the impact on the firm's book. Cash gets reduced by 30,000, bank gets reduced by 15,000. There's a liability of 5,000 in their books. The reason is they made purchases for the corresponding cash, bank, and for the outstanding payable liability or headache that the firm has. Now, second part of double entry system taking. Debit side is equal to credit side. So 50,000 should be equal to 50,000. 30 plus 15 plus 5 is 50,000. That's it. Now, why again and again told you the condition of double entry system? This you have to keep in mind. This is because from next lecture I won't tell you. This is because if there's less than 0.001 percentage chance where there's something comes in the exam which is not part of what I teach you. Even the questions. Now, but they may be sometimes the board examiner or some other examiner shocks you. You should be able to answer it correctly, because those kind of questions only few people will be able to solve. Those people are people who understood the concept. That is you in this case. If you get stuck somewhere, use this logic in the double entry system's formula or the conditions. You will be able to solve everything. Correct. So I'm leaving you for today. That's the end. So go home, and what I do, you go through the questions for 5 minutes and solve that one question that I put a tick mark in. Just give 5 minutes every day, apart from these lectures. That is enough. But give it consistently. All the best.